How you doing? So, who am I voting for when it comes to the next buff? So, let's take a look at the champions that are going to get buff. So, these are the champions that are going to get buff. So, who am I voting for? But before I do, I would like to tell you who has the highest potential champion to get buff. Or possibly. Not. So, before I do, let's go. I think. I thought I have her. Yeah. I think it's Morningstar. Morningstar, I think, has the highest potential to get buff. Okay? And besides Morningstar, it's. Who else? Who is Mutant? Of course, you probably know who the Mutant is. It's Rogue. Okay? So the only thing, I'm just gonna let you know, I didn't pick these two, and the only reasons why I didn't pick these two is a good example. Let's talk about Rogue first. So I didn't come up with this. It was Suida that came up with this, and this is why I'm not voting for Rogue, even though she has higher potential, could be the highest potential in the game. That out of the whatever 7 choices that we have that needs to get buff. But this is why, because it is a buff. It's not one of those terrible ideas Kabam came up with. It's called balancing. It's probably the one of the worst things they ever could come up with. It's like you expect a champion to look to get better, just the way they are, but just a little bit better. But instead, they what? They nerf a champion in some abilities, and then they buffed in some abilities. But in this case, it's not one of those rebalancing champions. It's more of a buff. So I don't know. This is what's gonna happen, but I feel like with Kabams and the rebalancing, the way they are, this what could happen to Rogue if she gets a buff. So, so as you can see here, flat values of she copy could get nerfed, power control change could get nerfed, buff cap limit could get nerfed. See, that's the only thing I hate. I know hate is a strong word, but I could say something I definitely dislike for sure is when they buff champions or when they balance champions. So obviously, especially when they balance champions, is when they nerf some things in the abilities. Imagine spending money in a champion and all of a sudden, oh, we're gonna, maybe we'll buff this champion for this ability, but we have to nerf them for another ability. I really like. I didn't buy that champion. I didn't spend money or all that time to get that champion, so you can nerf certain abilities of this champion. So that's really the thing I hate about the balancing. Even some cases maybe some balance. This is the really the reasons why I'm not voting for Rogue. So another champion with high potential, if they get buff, is Morningstar. The reason why I'm not voting for Morningstar is pretty much similar to Rogue, that she could get nerfed in some abilities she has, but if she actually gets buff, imagine like a Morningstar 2.0 or basically what's her name? I forgot her name. What's her name? What's her name? Purgatory. Like imagine a Purgatory 2.0 or basically a better way to say it, a better version of Purgatory when it comes to Morningstar buff. That would be so awesome, dude. I mean, he's actually pretty decent in Incursion when it comes to Morningstar, but there's so many champions that are better now when it comes to Incursion. Obviously, there's what Morpheus, there's Silk, there's Scream. Obviously, there's Angela, Hercules, and Hela. So there are champions that are better than her now, obviously, but she does pretty good, I think, still in when it comes to Incursion, the way she is. So if she gets buff, wow, I can't imagine how good she'll be when it comes to Incursion. Same thing with Rogue, since there's a lot of nodes with buffs in Incursion. So we'll see. So imagine how well she would be. You can even arguably be broken when it comes to Rogue and Incursion if she gets buff, but unlikely that's what Kabam is going to do. So who am I voting for is the question. So it's not Rogue or Morningstar, even though they have the highest potential in the game for to get buff. It's going to be ding 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 ding. Who's the other mutant? By the way, there's actually two mutants that are gonna get buff, and it's Weapon X Wolverine. So this is who I voted for to get buff, because when it comes to Wolverine X-23, like, how can she, like, I don't see how Kabam can screw her up, her buff. Really, I can't really see how they can screw up her buff when it comes to Wolverine X-23. Like, she's not the worst champion in the game, but she's just not good at all. Like, there's really nothing much going on her kit, so I don't see how Kabam can screw her up when it comes to her buff in any way. Like, her buff can only make her better. Like, there's just no way Kabam, even though some buffs have not been perfect, especially the rebalancing, I just don't see how Wolverine X cannot be a better champion if she gets a buff in every way. Um, how would I buff her? I When it comes to her waking ability, it's just a waste, dude. They should just, like, I don't understand what's the point of her waking ability. She should have. What, let me see. Is it here? I hope it's here. Yeah, there you go. No, we can't do it. I can't even go to Wolverine. She should have similar abilities like Wolverine. I don't see why it's anywhere different. I know it's like for creative purposes. It's like, why, right? Why would you want that? For creative purpose of something different. I get that, but I look at both of their abilities. I don't see any much difference. Of course, Wolverine, uh, the old version should have better abilities. I mean, when it comes to regen part, so I guess they can nerf that part for when it comes to the signature ability. When it comes to Wolverine X-23, I'm fine with that. But really, I'm really more like be happy when it comes to her damage. Like, give her the regen from her signature ability, similar to Wolverine, but maybe perhaps not as strong, of course. But when it comes to damage, I would expect her damage to be similar to Horseman Wolverine. I think when it comes to Horseman Wolverine, he's pretty much better in almost every scenario, practically every scenario except Bleeding Mean Champion. I would say when it comes to Wolverine X-23, and that's even debatable because when it comes to the old G Wolverine, his regen is so good that can be more sustainable than Wolverine X-23, even against uh, Bleeding Mean champions. But how can they buffer? Like, look at her abilities. It's really nothing. There's nothing. Like, I don't get. You know. I think this thing, her signature ability, should just be on her base kit. The fact that she is going to be a 7-star, it just makes sense that why it's just a waste of a signature ability. Like, when it comes to critical rating, critical damage, they could just put it in, like, in her base kit. Like, see, like when it comes to critical damage rating, they could just increase that, where once you have, like, against Bleeding Me champion, have three of them. When you get three of them, it should be similar to this. So instead of, like, let's just give you a rough math. So right now, so basically just double the critical rating and cruelty buff instead. So by the time you get three of them, it's going to be similar to at max sig when it comes to her signature ability. And you can actually, that's for every critical rating, and for every critical cruelty buff, she gets those extra bonuses, so she can actually be able to crit more and have more damage if they put it on her base ability. So that means she can have, like, when she has, like, every crit, every bleed on the opponent, she's gonna have extra crit, and every Bleeding Me champion is gonna have an extra cruelty buff, so that's gonna give her more damage. So double what this is and get rid of it from her signature ability. And similar to Wolverine, just have a regen, perhaps not as strong. What else? As you can see, special heavy attacks, that just seems useless. I guess you could say give a slow debuff. for the heavy attacks, but I don't think that makes any sense for her abilities. Personally, I'm fine with her not having too much utility besides the regen and the bleed, obviously. But I'm really more focused on simplicity, ease of use, and damage. I really want her to have damage. I don't really care too much about her utility. I just want her to just be like Wolverine as a horseman, damage wise. Doesn't have to have Wolverine's regen ability, but damage wise, I want it to be pretty much the same as Horseman Wolverine. And when it comes to Bleeding Me Champion, perhaps not as strong, but somewhat very close to it because she's gonna gain more critical damage and critical rating every time she inflicts cruelty buffs cruelty buffs on the opponent. And when it comes to special attack, as you can see, they can definitely just get rid of that. It makes no sense. I would say special attack 1, give a bleed on the opponent for 10 seconds, similar to what it is here when opponent is bleeding. But instead of 5 seconds, it'll be double that because it'll be 10 seconds, so double the damage. And then special 2, get a fury buff that increase her attack rating by 100%. So other than that, when it comes to special 3, very similar to when it comes to what do you call this, Hawkeye. So let's take a look at Hawkeye. So similar to Hawkeye, if the opponent is bleeding, in this case, it's not even if the opponent is bleeding. When it comes to special 3, just give like one of those similar to Hulk, I guess, like where what is it? Physical vulnerability, where it decreases bleed opponent by 5,000. I know 5,000 seems like that's just too high, but we can put a timer on it. Like instead of infinite duration, we can just say for 30 seconds, uh, be able to have a physical vulnerability that can reduce opponent's physical resistance for about 5,000. I believe that's going to be great for long fights. So you can throw your special 3, then go to your special 2 to special 1 to do massive damage. So that's really about it. I know some people are like 5,000 seems so high. No, it's not. When it comes to Hawkeye, they did nerf him. So it's unfortunate when it comes to so many champions in the game. I can go on and on for all the champions that have been nerfed by Kabam. Hawkeye is just one of them. Who else? And Sandman, Red Guardian. I don't even know. Who's that guy? That's big dude that hits like a truck. Big dude that hits like a truck. Who is it? Do I have him? Call Obsidian. This guy's been buffs. I mean, been nerfed so many times. I can't even remember how many times this guy's been nerfed. I don't understand when Kabam nerfs champions, to be honest. Like, oh, this champion is too powerful. And what happens when they nerf them? Nobody ever uses them. I just gave you all the examples. Hawkeye, who else? Sandman, Red Guardian, Calls Obsidian. All these champions got buffed and end up getting nerfed and end up nobody using them. So I hope that's not the case. That's why I think when it comes to Wolverine X, 5,000 is not that ridiculous. I think for the special 3, some you might disagree. I mean, Kabam might disagree, of course, because they say, "Oh no, that's too powerful." But really, 5,000 reducing it from a special 3 for 30 seconds when it comes to their physical resistance is fairly reasonable, I think. So, who do you guys think? Who you want to buff and why? I'd be curious myself as well. But that's really it. I want Wolverine X to be buff because it just makes common sense from all of them, and she looks like she is winning. And really, I can see her just. There's no way Kabam can screw her buff up because she's could only get better when it comes to Wolverine X23. When it comes to Rogue, as you can see, and Morningstar, like I feel like very worried when it comes to their buff. Personally, I think all of them should get buff. I don't see why not. Especially the game. People are just really upset about the game when it comes to the bugs and the rewards. You know, and I don't see why not. In Kabam, I can see them making lots of money for these champions to get buff because it just makes sense. I'm sure they made a lot of money when it comes to the rework champions for the banquet events. I don't see why they cannot make money if all these champions get a buff and they were okay. I mean decent at least, to very good. I would love to be better, but at least decent. Personally, I contra to social media and what Kabam YouTubers are, the people that work for Kabam that are YouTubers, I'll still be using my 6 stars because I can take them to max sig if I want to. So I can really take any champion to max sig. I don't think she's going to get above, so it could be Rogue, and she is not awakened, is she? Let's see. Is she awakened? Come on, be awakened. No, she's not. But see here, I got 5 of them. Why not? Let's just use it. I will still be using my 6 stars. You know, even though Kabam YouTubers that work for Kabam that does YouTube, they tell you that 6 stars are dead. I still gonna use 6 stars. I'm gonna take them to max sig because I also been a free to play for 3 months now. I'm not giving a cent to Kabam from now on because, as you know, they are a terrible company. So why would I give them their money? Why would I give them my money? I learned from my mistakes for very long time when it comes to giving money to Kabam. So I'm personally happy with that. As you can see, hoping that she gets buff, but I'm gonna take her to max sig when she does get buff. So that's really it. That's all I can say.